Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Q&A session. So today's Q&A session offers a unique opportunity for all of us to gain insights in the context of the MBA program offered by the Schulich School of Business. And I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed guest, Mr. Vijender Trivedi. He is the Director for Student Services and International Relations at the Schulich School of Business, York University. Vijender is an accomplished business professional with experience in marketing, product and program management, and consulting. He's worked with some of the most respectable organizations in Toronto, CIBC, MARS Discovery District, Weight Watchers, and Accenture Digital. His passion for entrepreneurship, higher education, and community collaboration has led him to a number of volunteering opportunities and leadership roles. Vijender currently manages the recruitment and admissions for Schulich's MBA, MBA in India, and accounting programs, and is the director for the Hyderabad campus. He has a Bachelor's of Technology degree in Bioinformatics and an MBA from Schulich School of Business, Toronto. So thank you, Vijender. Thank you for joining us today and taking out the time on a Saturday. And we look forward to understanding more about the program from you today.
Thanks, Riti. Happy to be here, and thanks for having me. I'm super excited and looking forward to an engaging session.
Excellent. So, Vijender, let's understand. We want to understand from you first of all that what is the Schulich MBA program, how is it structured, and how does it support graduate careers? So, tell us more about the program as well as the two parts. One is the MBA in India as well as the MBA in Canada.
Sure, great. Thanks for the question, Shruti. So I'll start with saying three things, right? When we look at an MBA program, and especially the Schulich MBA program, we are in a post-pandemic world, right? And this is when the corporates need MBAs the most. And a lot of people would agree, and we do have people who might not agree with this. But we have this feedback from the industry that this is when they need the MBAs the most, right? So with that in mind, what we do is when we have our MBA students start the program, we have three goals, right? We help our candidates understand how a business works, right? Because we have a very diverse cohort where people come from business and non-business backgrounds. So the first thing we focus on is to help our students understand how to run a business, how a business works, a holistic view. Second, leadership. We focus a lot on leadership, and not just leadership, global leadership, right? How to lead. So anything that we teach, the lens that we use also is leadership skills. Third is strategic thinking, right? With a consulting lens, of course, not to say that everybody is going to get into consulting, but the frameworks and the approach that consultants use to solve a problem definitely applies to other roles in other industries and other business functions as well, right? So we help our students build or fine tune that strategic thinking, right? So how a business works, leadership, and strategic thinking. And with that, of course, there's an always on component, which is how do you build a personal brand, right? Because it's how you position yourself that will help you move up in your career. Right? And last but not least is we have a very strong alumni network, and we all know that networking is the way to move forward, is the way to get into the roles that you really love, that you're really passionate about, right? So we have a really strong network of alumni who are doing really well in the industry, right? So basically, just to sum it up, those are the things that we focus on when we deliver our MBA program. But what I'll do next is I'll just quickly share with you how the program is structured, right? So before that, again, I'm sure one of the easiest and the fastest way to test how strong a brand is to look at the rankings. And a lot of global agencies rank Schulich as #1 business school in Canada, and of course Schulich is among world's leading business schools. The first question that comes to mind is why? Like, what is it about Schulich that stands out, right? Three things, as you can see on this slide. Global. We are truly global, right? We have two global campuses. Of course, we have two campuses in Toronto and one campus in Hyderabad, India. We have 5 satellite centers in key trading regions. And we also have partnerships with 80 plus management schools where students end up doing exchange programs or study tours. And as I just mentioned, we have 33,000 alumni in 90 countries, right? So we are global. Second reason why we are ranked so high is because we're innovative in the way we approach our programs. You have 17 specializations and 100 plus courses to choose from. So you're actually working on customizing your MBA and your learning. And there's one thing that is super unique to Schulich, which I'll share in detail when we get into the curriculum, is a real life consulting project. You know, one of the best things that our students get out of this MBA program, and they remember this for the rest of their career. And last but not least is, diverse cohort, right? We all know that businesses are global these days, and you will end up working with people from different backgrounds, ethnicities, cultures, languages, countries, and Schulich prepares you for that. How? More than 50% of the class is international. More than 60% of international faculty come from diverse backgrounds, and we also have program diversity. Right? So that is the reason why we are ranked number one, and we are number one, of course, in Canada and among world's leading business school. Right. And very quickly, the way we teach business is we focus, of course, on profit, people, planet. Like those are the three things that we use. Those are the three lenses, and that is how every business we think, and we strongly believe how all businesses should function. And we use these three lenses when we teach business. Shruti, do you want me to get into the curriculum now, or
We'll get,
for because I don't want to, just keep sharing information.
no. So yeah, one thing that was very unique about what you mentioned was the innovative and part of the curriculum and the dialogue that happens with the industry to design the curriculum. So that is one thing that is what I want to understand. And 17 specializations. So how are those designed and how are those structured? So yes, that was going to be my next question. So we can
Okay.
jump into that.
Great, great. That's a great segue into my next. So this is how the program is structured. So there are three pillars or three blocks. The first block that you see here is all about your year one, right? This is where we help build a solid business foundation, right? So it's all about business fundamentals. We touch all functional areas of business, from marketing to finance to accounting to operations, even HR, right? Or organizational behavior. So year one is all about that, right? Building a solid foundation. The block number 2 and 3 that you see, that's your year two. And block number 2 is what I was talking about, the strategy field study, right? So this is where we have our students do an 8-month long live consulting project. So it's not a quick 3 to 4 to 6 week capstone project where you do some research, some interviews, do your presentations, share your recommendations, and you're done. No. In year two, 8 months, you will be working with a real client to solve a real business problem. And this is where we work very closely with the industry to help our students acquire real world experience. Right? And this happens in your year two. The third block that you see here is all about specializations. Right? So you have 17 specializations to choose from, and you're able to specialize up to 2 areas of business. And if you look at this closely, here are the specializations that I've listed. So, for example, if you want to specialize in digital transformation, but with a cross functional specialization, which is business consulting, you can do that, right? Or if you just want to focus on 2 functional specializations, that is also possible, right? So it really depends on the electives that you take and the specializations that you want to. And from day one, you will have an academic advisor that you will work with to plan your academics, right? To plan all your terms. Of course, you also have a career coach that you will gain access to from day one, and you will start working towards your internship and other things. So they go in parallel, right? So depending on where you want to go, you will select electives. Right? So that's how the program is structured. So these are the 17 specializations. I'm happy to answer any questions at a later stage when you have. We actually were at 18, but we had to merge 2 specializations. So that's why we are at 17 right now. And one unique specialization that you'll see that we launched this year is leading equity, diversity, and inclusivity, EDI. right? Again, like I said, the way the world we are in now and the way things are changing, and the way we want our workplaces to be, I think EDI is becoming very, very, very important, right? And a lot of top consulting firms are focusing on this, and we learned this from the industry, and we're offering this as a specialization.
Thank you. And
Yes.
another important question that is coming across in this context is that one way of looking at an MBA program is a 1 year MBA program or an 11 months program, which really fast tracks. It is a very fast-paced program. You go through it. At the other end of it, you have other things looking that you look forward to. And another way of looking at it is a 2 year MBA program where you're going through a phased work phased program, plus then you have summer internships, you have projects. So what should the expectations be in terms of the aspirants? How should they evaluate the program that they're looking at vis-a-vis what the two types of programs offer as such?
I think that's a very good question. Thanks for that. So it really comes down to the why. Like, why is a candidate planning to pursue an MBA program, right? And why also depends on where they are in their career, right? So let's say people who have 8 plus 10 years of experience might want to look at a 1 year degree because they're focusing on going to that next level within the same business function or industry. That is where 1 year's focused, specialized master's or MBA program helps, right? But we get a lot of students who are working in the tech space, IT, or in other industry and would like to transition to a new industry or a business function. And I think, or get into business, right? Like understand how businesses work. That is where you need a 2 year MBA program, right? You would focus year one on learning everything about business, and then year two you get an opportunity to specialize, and between year one year two you get a chance to actually pursue an internship that will help you apply all the learnings that you have got, right? So it really depends on where students or where candidates are and why are they planning to pursue an MBA. And both are good, right? It really depends on where they want to go.
And from the perspective of the school, when they evaluate the applicants, so what are the pointers, or what is the story that really connects with the school when, especially from the Schulich point of view?
So see, a couple of things that we look at, right? So first thing is, and I'm sure you'll hear this from top B schools, is holistic evaluation. So everything about a candidate or an applicant is important, right? It's not just the GMAT or not just your GPA or your work experience, right? The first thing we look at, and again, I'm going back to this and I'll continue to stress on this because it sounds very obvious, but trust me, that is where a lot of students or candidates or applicants don't give their 200%. And the first thing we look at is the why. The why is very, very, very important. Yes, it sounds like SOP and you just share your why and your journey, but what we are looking for is a solid story, right? So the moment you have that on your essay, the moment you bring that up in your interview, I think that tells us that you're super confident, you have thought through this thing entirely, you know where you want to be, and you know how Schulich can help you, right? So the why becomes very important, right? That's the first thing we look at. The second thing is, as I mentioned, leadership skills, right? So not to say that you have to have a title to be a great leader. No, we all know this, right? So it's the qualities that you are looking for, right? What did you do? Did you just stick to your 9 to 5, or did you go above and beyond, right? Did you do any extracurricular activities when you were working? Right, when your boss or manager was away, did you step up and did you lead the team and help them navigate maybe a busy or a tough week, right? Or you're one of those people who comes up with initiatives and actually presents and makes things happen. Those are some of the qualities of a great leader, right? We want students who have those skills. So that's the second thing that we look at. The third thing is, what drives you, right? And I think this is where a lot of applicants, they pause for a couple of seconds before answering, right? Because what drives you is not just, hey, the salary or this thing. We are looking for more than that, right? We have had applicants who say we love traveling. Of course, that's a very common thing that we get, but some of them are very specific in terms. I love scuba diving, right? I love to talk to as freshers or students who are just starting their career. So things like that. What drives you is very important, right? And we would like to know that, right? And the other thing that we also look at is how do you give back to the community, right? So again, a good quality of a great leader is giving back to the community. That doesn't mean you list 5 or 10 NGOs on your resume. No, you just list one thing and tell us what the impact. How did you help that particular NGO? Or you might not be associated with any NGO, but you do things on the side that is your way of giving back to the community, right? So those are some of the things that we look at when we receive an application, and we dive a bit deeper into all of these during the interview process.
Right. So we have a question here, Vijender, which says, how long does the candidate study in India and how long in Canada? So I think before that, I would also like to inquire about, what is the MBA and what is the MBA in India? What are the two structures
Perfect.
like, and how do they amalgamate?
Great. Yeah. So the slide that you're currently looking at, it's our standard MBA, 2-year MBA program in Toronto, right? So you have the 17 specializations. You can also do some joint degree programs. You can switch between part-time, full-time. Really depends on your immigration status, but that flexibility is available. There are two starts. We have a January and a September. So we have fall and winter intake. And as I mentioned, we have two campuses in Toronto. One is a Kiel campus, which is north of Toronto, and one is downtown Toronto. Right. So this is a standard 2-year MBA program in Toronto. The second program that we offer, and this is actually our 12th cohort, will be graduating next year. And this is a September intake only, so fall start only. It's a smaller cohort, about 50, 55 students. And the way it is structured is year one of the program. So if you remember the first block that I shared, right, building solid foundation, that happens here in Hyderabad. And this is, of course, structured in a modular fashion. So there are courses back to back, but taught by the same Toronto faculty. So faculty fly from Toronto, they're here for a couple of weeks, they teach a course, and then they go back. Right. And we get some of the best professors, highly rated professors, rated by our students, because of course they are not just teaching, they're doing consulting work, they have other projects, they also get invited to IMs and the ISB and other institutions here and in Southeast Asia, right? So they want to be in this region, and that is one of the reasons we get some of the best profs teach in the MBA in India program. And of course, our accommodation and all of that is taken care of. So that's year one, September to April, 2 terms, term one, term two. September to April, students are here in India at our Hyderabad campus. And then students move to Toronto in early May or late April to pursue an internship, which is your MBA summer work term between year one and two. So May, June, July, August, they pursue an internship in Toronto at a Canadian organization. And then the fall, which is the following September, is when students merge with the year two cohort in Toronto. And that is where they do their specializations, strategy, field study, and of course, at the end, they also become eligible to apply for post graduation work permit. Right? So that is how it is structured. So it can either be back to back 16 months program or a 20-month program, depending on if you would like to pursue an internship between year one and two. Right. And when students are here in India, right, it's a dual economy MBA. So there's a lot of learning that happens, a lot of dialogue a lot of discussions. We also get a lot of guest speakers. But I just want to highlight the Schulich India Advisory Board that you see here. We have really strong leaders or business leaders on our board. We also had Mr. Ratan Tata from day one, but he stepped down late last year due to health reasons. But we have some top folks from Tata Group part of our advisory board. As you can see, we have Mr. G.M. Raoji, Ms. Preeta Reddy from Apollo Hospitals, of course, Mr. Krishna Kumar from Tata Group, Mr. Uday Kotak from Kotak Mahindra, Mr. Nadir Godrej, very, very heavily involved with the board and with the program. So we have really strong advisory board, and as a result, we get access to corporate India, where we invite a lot of guest speakers to the campus. And this is how it is structured. Just to give you another view. Year one, Hyderabad. Then May to June, May, June, July, August in Toronto. Year two, you would of course specialize and do your strategy field study, and then of course you explore career opportunities. You of course graduate, work, live, immigrate, and all of that happens in Toronto. And one important thing to note is we are accredited by AICTE, and this program is offered in partnership with the GMR School of Business, the GMR group. Okay. And one question that we always get, and I just thought I'll address it before it even comes out. What are the key benefits of this program, right? It's a dual economy MBA, so you're learning about Asia and also, of course, North America. A global curriculum delivered in India. It's a smaller cohort, so excellent access to faculty, right? So you're one-on-one. As I mentioned, faculty, they're not just teaching, they're doing research work, they're heavily, very closely involved with the industry. Some of them become our students' mentors. They are very well connected in Toronto, right? So it's more than academics and more than just mentorship, right? Even life lessons. You're building a global network, of course, home country here and also North America and global. And cost of living. So ROI is very good for this program because all students receive financial aid in the first year tuition fees. That's the first thing. Second is, of course, cost of living in India, Hyderabad, is way below when you compare it with the cost of living in Toronto, right? So the end goal of receiving the same MBA degree, Schulich MBA degree, because there's nothing called MBA in India degree. It's a standard Schulich MBA degree, is just structured differently, right? So when someone looks at ROI, a lot of students or applicants want to go through the MBA program, and this is only offered for students from India right now, right? Eventually, we might have a global campus where we can admit students from other countries, but for now, it's for students from India only. We do get a lot of queries from applicants from other countries because the ROI is so solid. Okay, so that's it. I know I've shared a lot. Again, like I said, happy to answer. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat box.
Yeah, so have a question here that do the students who are in India, they have the same curriculum as what they would have if they were pursuing the program in Toronto in the first year. Second year, I believe, is the same for both of them anyways.
Yes. So the short answer is yes, because like I said, it's the same program structured differently. The content and everything else is the same, right? So your solid foundation is happening here, and then you're moving to Toronto.
And Vijender, there's another aspect of pursuing an MBA, that is the career services and the support that the students get during the whole period of this program for transitioning their careers, and especially when it is a Schulich MBA, a global transition is something that is top of mind, something that is an ask. So, how does the program prepare the students, and what are the different components and activities that they go through, which prepares the Indian students, especially for a global career?
Mm-hmm. Great. So if you see the slide, so Center for Career Design, so we have a team, CCDs, with what we call them, Center for Career Design, and this team works very closely with our students, professors, alumni network to help with the transition, to help with career services, right? So a couple of things I've highlighted here, but I'll also discuss other things. Is coaching, very important, right? So we have career coaches and industry advisors, right? And there is individualized coaching and advising, For example, you want to get into consulting, you have an advisor that you would work with again from day one, not even day one. Once you're admitted and once you're planning going through the pre-onboarding process, you have access to jump on a quick call with your coach or advisor to discuss in detail how you want to be ready to start the program. So individualized sector-based coaching and advising, very important. The second is tools, right? So we, of course, we're moving from South Asia to North America, right? Soft skills, right? I think that is very important. It's different, not to say, yeah, it's just the difference. And how do you fine tune those soft skills? How do you understand how things work in North America? And our CCD teams helps you with that, right? So we have some workshops that focus specifically on soft skill development, and we also do other workshops, right? Career foundation workshops that focus on resume building, cover letters, very important in North America, right? And how do you network? How do you have get, I don't know, LinkedIn? We all know that that's the first thing that a recruiter or manager, a future manager would look at, right? How do you have a solid profile, but how do you make use or leverage that platform, right? And things like that. So we have specific, like a 7-part series that focuses on that career foundation, and the standard things, of course, right? Online career portal, resume banks, all of that, all the postings, jobs, everything that our partners and corporates and companies come to us, we post them. It's handshake. But last but not least is networking, right? And as I mentioned before, networking is very important, and we want our students to tap into our solid alumni network, but also our our partners, corporates, companies, organizations that come to the campus to recruit, right? So they, of course, we're so used to campus placements here in India, but things work a bit differently in North America, right? So you network with your future employer, then you build that relationship, and then you look for a solid role that fits your career goals, and then you approach them and go through the process, right? So what we do, what CCD team does, is we have on-campus recruitment events, we have year-round corporate networking events, whether it's breakfast sessions, speed networking sessions, right? Panels, fireside chats, all of that. And almost every week you have 2 or 3 networking events and sessions happening. That's a lot, right? But again, we want our students to focus and pick one, attend that, give your 200%, then take that forward. And last but not least is alumni networking mixers. Our alumni is very well placed in the industry, right? And they love to give back. And that's why we have alumni networking mixers. So this is how we prepare. Again, this is for students who come from other countries as well, but also from India, right? So when we look at soft skill development, we have a workshop or a team that focuses specifically, into helping MBA in India students, right? And one more thing for the MBA in India program, I know there's this question, we get this question a lot, is do we have a CCD team here on campus, right, in India? So no, I mean, when I say no, they're not here full time, but they fly from Toronto, right, to do your career foundation workshops, sessions, one-on-one advising and coaching happens here in India as well before you even move to Toronto. Okay, I hope that answers the question, Shruti.
Yes, yes, it does. And in terms of, on an individual basis, what are the challenges that you've seen, the Indian applicants facing when they are looking at global transitions? So, except for the program does provide them very sufficiently for navigating that growth within when they're on campus. But before that, prior to, even looking at an MBA, what are the kind of mindsets and preparations that applicants should go through for a global career transition?
Hmm. So I think first thing is you really have to be clear where you want to go, and that does not mean that you have to have all your specializations and courses and all of that finalized. No, right? You have to, when someone connects with you, let's say the career coach connects with you, you need to tell them where you want to go and how do you want to leverage this MBA program to help you get there. I think that clarity is important, right? And not to say you should have figured out everything. No, we have career coaches and academic advisors for that. Right? So I think that clarity is important, and you can also, before you even apply or as you're applying, you can reach out to our alumni. Like I said, they go above and beyond to help you. So the first thing is that. The second thing is communication skills, and again, it's not about good or bad. It's more about how does it align with how things work in North America, right? So I think communication skills and how you approach someone, right? Some unsaid rules, like those are the things that you should start focusing on. And the best way to do that is do as many coffee chats, Zoom coffee chats, virtual coffee chats as possible, right? Talk to people from who are working in Canada. You reach out to 100, maybe only 3 respond, that's fine, right? They become your core network. They are the people that will help you. They have taken out time to connect with you. So once you do that, you become so comfortable, it becomes so natural to you before you even start the program, right? Because there is no pressure of finding a job or internship or any of that. You're doing it with a genuine purpose to learn, right? To become and to feel more confident before you start the program, right? So I would say that's the thing. And the one that I mentioned, right? What drives you? It's very important because that also helps employers and people that you're networking with to see whether you're a good fit, right? Because good fit and good culture fit is very important, right? And this is something that I work with a lot of mentees. I mentor a lot of students, not just from India, from other countries as well. But I think the fit is where a lot of students or candidates struggle, right? First thing is, how do you understand the culture of the company, right? It's not everything that's on the website. It's only through the dialogue, the discussions, and talking to multiple folks from the same team sometimes gives you the understanding of what the culture is, right? But you'll get a sense of it, a feel of it, right? So does that really align with what you're looking for? Even that is important. It's both ways, right? At the moment you have that in mind, I think the conversation becomes very natural and genuine, and you focus on showing them that you would be a great fit, right? So I think that from a career transition standpoint, just on the application itself, right? If you're thinking about the program and this thing, right? It's not important that you should specialize in the areas that we have listed here. Some students do a general MBA. They focus on picking courses that are important in today's workplace, right? So consulting, yes, but then maybe specialize in one area, but pick courses from other areas. Change management, it's not an HR thing anymore, right? So we have seen this, like, pandemic has taught us that, we have to be ready. We need to manage change. Leaders and management team needs to manage change. Take a course on change management. Sustainability, we all talk about business and sustainability, right? You don't need to really specialize in that field. Take a couple of courses in that field, right? And analytics, huge, right? All the decisions these days, at least the top leaders make data driven decisions, right? So maybe a course on that. So you should stay away from that standard, hey, here are the 2 specializations, I'll do that and I'll be fine. No, it always comes down to, when you go for an interview, it comes down to how uniquely can you position yourself. As simple as that, right?
Yes, yes. And just taking this discussion forward in terms of the landscapes, the career landscape, and how the industries are looking at MBA graduates. What is it that industry is looking for, and what
Mhm.
type of expectations, and how does the program? So program
Mhm.
accommodates it through the curriculum, I understand, but what exactly is the industry landscape like?
Okay. So what I'll do is, I don't think we have a slide for that, so maybe I'll just go back to my original slide. So 2 things, right? Because you're moving to because more, of course, students who start the 2-year program in Toronto, or students who start in Hyderabad and then eventually move to Toronto, I think we have to look at the North American market, right? Canada as the market, and Toronto, right? So um, what we have seen is, of course, right, Canada is a stable economy, right? That's what it always strives towards, right? And the industries and the companies, a lot of them are moving north of the border, right? And Toronto, as a result, is now a new tech and finance hub of North America. The reason is it's not saturated just yet. There is a lot happening, and the opportunities are only going to grow, right? And the reason is, of course, right, south of the border, the US, right, immigration issues, other issues, political, this thing, right? All of that has, of course, benefited Canada, but Canada in general, right? The startup ecosystem, if you look at, for example, very strong support from the government and corporates, right? So that's why the startup ecosystem is booming right now in Toronto. The tech ecosystem, right? A lot of tech companies want to have their headquarters in Toronto. Finance hub, of course, all the top five banks and other banks in North America, they have their headquarters and offices in Toronto, right? So that's about the economy itself. And of course, if you look at it in terms of numbers, I'll just pull this here. It's number third largest aggregate stock exchange in North America, and it's ranked number three in the world by PwC Cities of Opportunities. And the ranking, we have it, the one, I think it's number two now, if I'm not wrong. If you look at the latest rankings, right? And the economy, the number, if you look at it, it's very solid, right? And the reason is it's not saturated just yet, right? And the other thing that I want you to look at is, if you're looking for a great long term sustainable career path that offers you outstanding work life balance, Canada or Toronto is where you want to be, right? If you directly compare the packages, with the ones offered in the US, that's not a, apples to apples comparison, right? So if you're looking at like I said, long-term sustainable career path with outstanding work-life balance, I think Canada is where you want to be. A lot of my friends who started working in the US have now moved to Toronto, right? And of course, they're doing really well, right? One of the main reasons: smooth immigration process, no anxiety, no surprises, straightforward, right? Plus the growth itself, right? So I think that is one of the reasons why Toronto and Canada is booming right now in terms of opportunities. But if you're looking at the industries, right? So I would say finance, of course, and the whole world of supply chain is doing well. Technology, for sure. Consulting, the top consulting firms, of course, the big four and the other ones, boutique consulting firms. Business and sustainability, right? Where we are right now, I think that is becoming very important, right? Operations, as a result, a lot of our students get into operations. So I'll quickly maybe share with you the stats that we have, and we have received the latest one just yesterday. So I don't have the stats there, but that's even better. So you'll see that if you look at the employment by industry, it's not to say that these is the percentage of opportunities that are available. It's more about where our students are going, right? And naturally, where there are a little bit more opportunities, our students land there. For example, financial services, absolutely, we have top banks, top fintechs in Toronto. So as a result, a lot of students get into financial services. Not to say that finance is their business function. They could be consultants working within the financial services industry, or a marketing professional working in financial services industry, right? So financial services for sure, consulting, yes, right? Manufacturing, technology, right? It's a wide range of. And one thing about Schulich that you'll notice, we never position ourselves as, hey, we're the consulting school or the accounting school or the sustainability school, right? We are a business school where we help students who want to transition to any industry or any business function that they want to, right? So that's why you see that there's a lot of industries listed here where our students graduate and go and work. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And for the admissions process, what are there are different components of the admissions process? The GMAT, then we have essays, we have recommendations. A unique process is the Kira interview, and then the personal interview.
Mhm.
So, in terms of the GMAT, first of all, what is the role that GMAT plays in the admissions process? What are the kind of uh, perspectives or the insights that you would like to share for people who are preparing for the GMAT and planning to apply? Plus
Mhm.
the GMAT focus edition. So is
Mm.
the Schulich MBA process taking up the accepting the GMAT focus edition, and what are the
Okay.
important things to note over here?
Sure. So I'll answer your last question first. So yes, we will accept both the scores as long as the old one, the standard one, is valid, right? The 5 years validity, absolutely. And we of course work very closely with GMAC. We have been working very closely with GMAC on this, right? So don't worry about it. As long as your score is valid, great. In terms of GMAT and the weightage, right? So the way we look at it is GMAT is just one piece of information about an applicant, right? So we go
Yes.
beyond just your GMAT, and by the way, we also accept GRE for MBA admission. So we look at beyond just the score, right? Holistic evaluation, like as I highlighted before, right? So everything about you is important, right? Your GPA, your GMAT, GRE score, your work experience, of course, minimum 2 years, but the average ends up being 4 to 5 years for our Schulich cohort, MBA cohort, and then leadership skills. How do you give back to the community? What drives you, right? And the why, like I said, like these are the things we look at. However, it is good to score a strong GMAT, right? Because it helps with scholarship, right? And it sometimes end up being one of those filters that we have to use if we have, of course, we have limited seats, but if we have two people that we're not so sure and we need to select only one, I think GMAT is something that helps us. Not to say that that is what we look at. So always a good idea to get a strong GMAT score. And for scholarships, yes, we always have merit-based scholarships for the most part. I think 80% of scholarships in for international students is merit-based. So your GMAT or GRE score, your GPA does have a heavy help you with a stronger application. Okay, so that's on the GMAT. On the Kira interview that you just mentioned, Shruti. So the way I advise any prospect, the way you should look at it is, it's very similar to an interview, right? It's just, the system is interviewing you and asking you the question. So just treat that as a regular interview. And why do we use Kira Talent? It's to evaluate, of course, the standard things, the candidates' communication skills, how does a student approach or a candidate approach a behavioral interview question, how do they think on their feet, their confidence, all of that. So this also adds another layer of filtering, right? So we know that this person is great at this, so we would now love to interview this person, right? So there's just another level of filter that we add, and Kira Talent helps us before we even get to the interview stage. We are interviewing, or we are asking Kira Talent, the system, to interview you. Okay.
And yes, and I think the last component of the admissions cycle is the admissions process is the personal interview.
Hmm.
So when somebody's coming forth for a personal interview, what are the expectations and what does the school look for throughout the complete application process? So what
Hmm.
drives them is one I remember, and what are they looking for? Why do they want to do an MBA is another one that I remember. But how does it translate into different components of the
Right.
application process?
Got it. Yeah. So all of this. So if you look at our admission process, you'll see, of course, the standard SOPs, right? So you'll focus on sharing with us your why. But we also allow our students or candidates or applicants to submit an optional essay. I personally love reading the optional essays because that is where you're sharing something more unique about you, right? A special case, maybe you want to highlight why you have a not so solid GPA. Things happen, right? So that is where you actually share the information, or maybe there's something super unique and amazing about your profile that you would like to share. So please do that. Optional essay, I know students apply to multiple B schools and it's time consuming, all of that, but trust me, if you spend time submitting an optional essay, it will help you, it will strengthen your application, right? So optional essay, again, really depends on what you want to share, right? But focus, right? And then third is, you tell us a good story. That is important for us to know when we are looking at your application for the first time, because the same standard thing, I'm in technology, I want to get into consulting, da da da, all of that, we have read like maybe hundreds of that, right? Maybe you want to tell us the same thing, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, right? Just say it in a way that is super interesting, right? And I think that is where your application just stands out, right? So that is what you would do in your written essays. The other thing that we of course ask for, and it's part of your application package, is your references. And I know everybody is going to give you a glowing reference, right? Of course. But there are some of things that we look at, right? There's a difference between a genuine reference and a drafted reference, right? And having reviewed hundreds of applications, actually thousands of applications, we know the difference, right? So when you reach out to your references, of course, we don't accept a letter. We actually send them a link to submit their comments and their thoughts, and rate you on a lot of, a couple of attributes. But have a conversation with them. Don't just say, hey, I'm doing MBA. Can you just, have a conversation with them, prep them. Don't give them a draft. Don't give them anything. Just prep them and have the conversation, and then you will see there will be a huge difference when they share with us your strengths. They also, some of them share areas of improvement, which is fine, and we want to know that, right? It's a good thing, right? And they spend some time in adding more comments to the optional part of the reference section, right? So I think that is something where a lot of candidates or applicants just take it for granted, saying, yeah, I've submitted it. The references, of course, they would give us very glowing reference, strong reference, and we are fine, right? Yes, you'll be fine for the most part, but then when we have to really look at the final this thing and number of spots left and scholarships and all of that, I think that is where references also play an important role, right? So references, don't take that for granted. And of course, Kira talent, like I said, it's okay to take like 15 seconds to think about the question, structure your response, and then respond. The same thing that you would do during an interview. You do that. Your GPA, of course, you can't do anything about that, but you can use your optional essay if you are not very confident about your GPA. And during the interview, what we do is we dive into the details that you have shared in your essay, you have highlighted in your resume, you've mentioned it during maybe the Kira interview, right? All of that. So that is where we get into the details of it. And my tip would be to focus on sharing examples. Yes, you tell a story, but use an example. So if I'm asking you what are your strengths, don't just list them, da da da, right? Like, here are my four strengths. Sure, but how do I know that, right? So pick one example and tell us a good story using that example. And I think the moment you do that, right, the interviewer gets impressed, right? And that is, and they're also not just thinking about the admission right now, they're also thinking about how you would connect with a potential employer in a couple of months, right? So as long as you do that, and as long as you practice that and have some 5 to 10 examples ready, because you have worked, yeah, you have done the job, the role, the things that you have highlighted, the projects that you have highlighted in the resume, right? Highlight those, present those with an example, right? Share the unique thing that you'll bring to the classroom, right? Because diversity is important, right? So the last thing that before I close this question is diversity is important, right? So what is it that you're bringing to the classroom, right? Is it your technology? Is it your people management skills, right? Is it your right, how you navigate through challenging times, right? I don't know, maybe more on the sustainability, like you're really passionate about environment, right? Or you're coming from a very unique background, right? Hospitality background, right? Healthcare background, right? All of that. So that is something if I were you and I had a unique profile, I would focus on highlighting that and positioning yourself uniquely, even during the interview process.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
And to summarize, things that are important takeaways for aspirants and applicants who are considering applying to an MBA program, not only the Schulich MBA program, it would be that connect with the alumni, connect with the school, discuss with them what your aspirations are and what does the school have to offer for that, and is there a fit? So ascertain the fit first, and then when you are applying or putting up any component of your application, be yourself, rather than be the generic or the communication being very very standard. It is important for you to voice your own thoughts and your own preparation as well as your own plans throughout the process. So having said that, thank you Vijender for your inputs, for answering all our questions, taking out the time on a weekend. It was really insightful. And the deadlines for the Schulich MBA program are also, they have been announced very recently. I've shared them here. So you can just, start with your application process. The application opens on August 16th. So go ahead and all the best for that.
Great.
Thank you, Vijender. Thank you once again for
Thank
your
you
time
for
today.
having me. This was a great session, and yes, if you have any questions, we also do a pre-admission assessment. So if you're keen, you would like to connect with our admissions team, a recruiter, then here you can take a screenshot of this slide, and you can register at this link here where we also do pre-admission assessment. Before you even start your application, right? So feel free to reach out if you want to see what's happening at Schulich. Of course, follow us on our social media channels and attend our upcoming events. That's the best way to learn more about what's happening at Schulich, right? You'll connect with professors, you'll connect with the admissions team, you connect with alumni. So go to our events page and register for an upcoming event. Okay, great. Thanks again, Shruti. Have a great Saturday and, of course, the rest of the weekend. And talk soon. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye for now. Yeah.